Have you run into some roadblocks in Zoho CRM with the built-in reporting tool? Hi, my name is Zach Spader, and I'm with Cornerstone Solutions. Today, I'm going to show you how to set up the sync from CRM to Zoho Analytics. Let's take a look. Okay, so most clients, when they've used the CRM for long enough, understand that there are some limitations when it comes to the reports and the dashboards and things like that that you could get right out of the box within CRM. And so a lot of customers end up needing more from those tools. And so they need to switch over to Zoho Analytics. And so, of course, Zoho Analytics is a completely different application. And the sync has to be set up of the data between CRM and analytics. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to analytics here. We've already got a sync in the system for Zoho Projects, Zoho Desk, and Zoho Books. We're just going to add a sync into Zoho CRM as well so that we can get the CRM data into analytics so that we can report on it. So we're going to head and go to the workspaces here, and we're going to click Import Your Data. And then we're going to look for the CRM. Now, there's lots of different sources that you can pull data from, lots of different CRMs that you can pull data from. Today, we're going to focus just on Zoho CRM. So I'm going to type in CRM, and here's my options. I've got Zoho CRM right here. I'm going to select that. I'm going to click the next button. Okay, so here's where we have to set up what is syncing over to analytics from CRM. Now, there's some best practices here that you want to follow. Not everything syncs by default. So they will, Zoho will choose the modules that it thinks that you would want to sync. And so some of the basic modules like leads, contacts, accounts, things like that are going to be included in the sync here. And then from those modules, not every field will be synced as well. And so there will be a list of fields when you click on the individual modules that are getting synced over into the system here. And you can click on the individual modules to see what fields are being synced. Now, of course, you can select all and make sure that all the fields from a particular module would sync over into analytics, but there are some drawbacks to that. One, these syncs happen on a schedule. And if you're syncing over a lot of data into analytics, those syncs can take a long time. And so it can be beneficial that if you want things to sync faster, that you don't sync all of the modules or all of the fields, especially if the data is unneeded. And so in most cases, a lot of companies, they have specific points of data that they need to sync over to analytics so that they can create reports on those fields. And so what I typically recommend is setting up a basic sync of fields with the fields that it gives you out of the box that it tells you would be beneficial to bring over in the system. And then if you run into a scenario where you need an additional field, you can always come back in and edit the sync and then trigger a new sync to get that information over. Now, that can be a little bit frustrating because sometimes you're building a report and you realize that you need another field in analytics. And so you have to go in and edit the sync and sync that over before you can create that report. But on the flip side, if you sync everything over, those syncs can just take a long time. Sometimes, depending on how many records you have in the CRM, how many fields you're syncing over, the syncs can take up to 30 minutes or longer to run if there's a lot of records. So again, I urge people to only sync over the modules that they absolutely need to begin with, and then just add to that as you go if there's additional pieces of information like modules or fields that you need. And so again, we have the ability to go into the individual module here. I can click on the leads module and I can look through the information that's being sent over here. And so things like the lead status, the lead source, those are going to be important pieces of data. Those are already selected by default. Maybe you have particular layouts that you want to track different layouts of information. So you could select the layout here and add that to the sync. But you can go through each one of these modules here and choose what you sync over. And so it's syncing leads, accounts, contacts, deals. You can see none of the tasks, meetings or calls are syncing over right now. So maybe you don't need that information, or maybe you do. Maybe you want to do an activities report. And so you want to add them the task meetings and calls into this as well. So you can choose, what you want to sync in here. And then the last piece of data is how often you want this to sync. So depending on what subscription you have of Zoho Analytics, if you're using Zoho One, you have the Enterprise Edition, and you can do an hourly sync. And so you can sync every 3 hours. And that's going to be about the most frequent sync schedule that you can set up with Zoho Analytics between other Zoho applications. Depending on the subscription that you have, some subscriptions only allow you to sync once a day. And so you may be limited here. So you may see some different options when you click into this how often field down here. You may only see a daily schedule in which you can set up with the time of day that you want that to sync over. We can sync hourly because we're on a Zoho One subscription here. So I'm going to select the every 3 hours, and then we'll just hit create here. And this is going to take a while to work because it's going to set up the sync, and it's going to sync over the initial data from the CRM into analytics. And so I'm going to pause the video right here, and then we're going to come back. As soon as this is complete, we'll take a look at what information was synced over and how that looks in the system. Okay, so the sync has completed here. I'm going to click the OK button. And it's going to take me into the workspace. Now I'm going to back up just for a second here. I'm going to go back to the home screen here. And you can see that in the workspaces now, we have the Zoho CRM Analytics workspace. And so this is where it took us, but I can click into this. And here's all the information from the workspace. So I can see the different modules of data that it pulled over. So accounts, we pulled over calls, contacts, deals, leads, meetings, tasks, users from the system. So this is all the default data that we pulled over. And then, of course, if I click into any of these modules here, I can see the individual fields of data that synced over from the system here. Okay, so that's how you set up the basic sync of information from CRM to analytics so that you can use the analytics tool for reporting purposes. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Thanks. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like it and leave us a comment. You can also subscribe to our channel and click the bell next to the subscribe button to be notified of new videos. If you want to learn more about Zoho or would like help with anything Zoho related, head on over to our website at zcrmhelp.com to connect with us. Thanks for watching.